Fantasy action RPGs can feel very different depending on their combat, progression, and world design. This tier list is ranked purely based on my own experience and how each game felt to play. Alright, let's dive right in. Final Fantasy XV starts strong for me because the bond between Noctis and his three friends is the heart of the whole journey. Traveling the open world together, listening to their banter, and fighting as a team made everything feel personal and alive. I liked the real-time combat and flashy team attacks, even though it can get a bit simple after a while. The world of Lucis looks beautiful, and exploring it at my own pace was easily one of the best parts. That said, the story loses focus later on, and the move toward linear sections hurts the flow. With great character moments but uneven gameplay and pacing, this game earns a place in my good tier. Grim Dawn is excellent for me because it nails the core of what a fantasy action RPG should feel like. Every hit, skill upgrade, and piece of gear feels meaningful, and the progression stays satisfying for dozens of hours. I really enjoy how deep the class and skill system is, letting me build characters in very different ways. The dark, ruined world feels heavy and dangerous, and exploration is always packed with combat and hidden dungeons. The story isn't very strong, but the combat, loot, and atmosphere easily make up for it. Because it understands the genre so well and stays consistently rewarding, this one clearly earns its place in my excellent tier. Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor puts me right into a dark and brutal version of Middle-earth where combat always feels fast and responsive. I can approach fights quietly with stealth or jump straight into large battles using smooth sword combos and counters. Early on, enemies are dangerous and mistakes get punished, which keeps every encounter tense. The Nemesis system is what really makes it special, because enemies remember defeats, come back stronger, and turn losses into personal rivalries. While the story is decent and not the main focus, the moment-to-moment gameplay stays engaging. Thanks to its standout combat and smart enemy system, this title settles in the great tier. Path of Exile 2 already feels massive, even in its early access state, and it pulls me in almost immediately. Combat feels more active and skill-based than most ARPGs, with dodging, positioning, and boss patterns actually mattering. I spend a lot of time planning builds because the skill trees, gems, and class choices are deep and unforgiving in a good way. The campaign is long, and the endgame already offers plenty to chase, which makes it easy to lose track of time. Loot can be stingy, and some early access issues show up, but the core gameplay is extremely strong. With this level of depth and ambition, it clearly belongs in the excellent tier. Kingdom Hearts series feels strange and charming at the same time, with Disney worlds mixed into anime-style fantasy. I never fully follow the story, but I still enjoy the emotional moments and familiar characters. Combat keeps me engaged with fast movement, magic, and different Keyblade styles that change how fights play out. Some worlds are more exciting than others, yet the music and visuals make exploring them fun. The pacing can be uneven and the dialogue awkward at times, but the gameplay and heart of the series stand out. Because of its unique style and enjoyable combat, this one easily claims an excellent tier. Lies of P pulls me in with its dark fairy tale world and tight, deliberate combat that rewards timing and aggression. Fighting through Krat feels intense, especially during boss battles where parries, positioning, and patience really matter. I enjoy how the game pushes me to stay aggressive instead of hiding behind defense, and the weapon system lets me mix blades and handles to shape my own playstyle. The story is clearer than most Souls-likes and has a few memorable characters and twists, even if the level design stays more linear than expected. Difficulty can be uneven at times, but the combat, atmosphere, and boss fights stay consistently strong. With how well it executes the Souls-like formula, this one easily claims an excellent tier position. Granblue Fantasy Relink surprised me with how fun and polished its combat feels, even with a shorter and simpler story. The campaign moves at a fast pace, and I like that it doesn't waste time with too much filler dialogue. Fighting enemies is smooth and flashy, and every character plays differently, which keeps battles fresh. The arts level system adds smart risk and reward, and team attacks feel great when everything lines up. Some parts clearly show its mobile roots, especially in side content and progression, and the story doesn't go very deep. Still, the strong combat and charming cast make it enjoyable overall, earning it a place in the good tier. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt slowly pulls me into its world, and once it does, it's hard to step away. Exploring the open lands, taking Witcher contracts, and stumbling into deep side stories makes the world feel alive and reactive to my choices. Combat feels weighty and skill-based, especially when mixing swordplay, signs, and preparation for specific monsters. The main story can drag at times, but the side quests often feel richer and more meaningful than the core plot. Every decision has consequences, big or small, and that makes the journey feel personal. Because of its world design, writing, and long-lasting impact, this game stands as a true masterpiece on the tier list. Tales series has had ups and downs over the years, but it feels refreshed thanks to modern entries like Tales of Arise. I like how the series blends character-driven stories with real-time combat that feels faster and more fluid than before. The characters grow together in meaningful ways, and the themes go beyond simple good versus evil. Combat stands out with flashy attacks, smart party mechanics, and systems that reward timing and positioning. Some older design habits still show, and not every story beat lands perfectly, but the series finally feels confident again. Because of this strong comeback and solid combat foundation, the Tales series lands in the good tier on my list. The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim gives me a level of freedom that very few games ever reach. I can follow the main quest, ignore it completely, or spend hours exploring mountains, caves, and cities just to see what happens next. Every system connects naturally, from combat and magic to crafting, shouts, and character growth through use. The world reacts to my choices in small but meaningful ways, and unexpected moments, like dragon attacks or strange side quests, constantly change the flow of play. Combat may be simple at times, and bugs do exist, but the sense of scale, discovery, and player choice is unmatched. Because of how deeply it defines open-world RPGs, this game earns its masterpiece tier status without question. Dragon Age Inquisition gives me a huge fantasy world where my choices as a leader matter just as much as my skill in combat. Managing the Inquisition, closing rifts, and deciding how power is used makes side activities feel connected to real progress. Combat lets me switch between direct action and tactical control, which keeps fights flexible and thoughtful. The world is massive and packed with things to discover, even if the main story feels vague and the villain lacks impact. What keeps it strong is the sense of building something larger than myself through companions, decisions, and exploration. Because of its scale, systems, and player-driven story moments, this game earns a well-deserved place in the great tier. Last Epoch gives me a strong balance between fast combat and deep character building. I like how every skill has its own upgrade tree, which lets me shape abilities instead of just increasing numbers. The campaign is mostly there to set things up, but once I reach the endgame, the systems really open up with timelines, blessings, and constant build tweaking. Crafting and loot feel flexible, letting me adjust my character without starting over. Online issues and a weak story do hold it back, but the customization and endgame depth stand out. Because of that strong foundation and replay value, this one earns a clear spot in the great tier. Diablo Series has always been about fast combat, strong builds, and the constant hunt for better gear, and that core still works extremely well. I like how combat feels tight and responsive, with each class offering a clear playstyle and plenty of room to experiment. Building characters through skills, gear, and endgame systems keeps me thinking about upgrades long after a session ends. The stories are usually simple and not the main focus, but the atmosphere, music, and world design do a great job setting the tone. Even when bugs or balance issues show up, the core loop stays addictive and rewarding. Because of its lasting impact and refined gameplay, the Diablo series earns its place in the excellent tier. Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen stands out to me because of how bold and demanding it is. Combat feels weighty and physical, letting me climb massive enemies, target weak points, and switch classes whenever I want to change my approach. Exploration feels dangerous, especially at night, when planning and preparation really matter. Bitterblack Isle pushes difficulty much further, offering brutal fights that reward patience and smart builds, even if they can feel unfair at times. The story and technical issues do hold it back, but the combat depth and sense of risk are hard to ignore. For its ambition and unforgettable battles, this game earns an excellent tier placement on my list. Black Myth Wukong impressed me with its sharp combat and unforgettable boss fights. Every fight demands timing, focus management, and smart use of spells, which keeps battles tense and skill-driven. I like how it leans more toward a fast action style rather than strict Souls-like rules, letting me stay active instead of worrying about heavy penalties. The world looks stunning and the enemy variety stays strong throughout, even if navigation can be confusing without a map. Technical issues and bugs definitely hurt the experience at times, but the core combat and boss design remains strong. Because of its ambition and combat quality, this game lands in the great tier. Elden Ring began as a journey where I knew almost nothing, and that's exactly what made it special. I stepped into a massive world with no clear direction, learned through mistakes, and slowly shaped my character by choosing my own path instead of following markers. When a boss felt impossible, I could walk away, explore somewhere new, gain strength, or uncover tools that changed the fight completely. Combat demanded patience and awareness, exploration kept surprising me, and every major win felt earned through effort and persistence. Even after dozens of hours, it still felt like the world had secrets left to uncover. That mix of freedom, challenge, and discovery places Elden Ring in the masterpiece tier. Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth took me back to a world I already loved, but let me experience it in a completely new way. I walked through familiar places that now felt bigger, more detailed, and more alive, and every region gave me a reason to slow down and look around. Combat felt flexible and thoughtful, with party switching and synergy moves making every fight feel planned rather than rushed. I liked how side quests added meaning to the characters instead of feeling like distractions, even if the story's new timeline ideas sometimes became confusing. Still, the emotional weight, character moments, and sense of scale stayed with me long after I stopped playing. For me, this duo earns its place in the excellent tier as a reimagining that respects the past while daring to change it. Monster Hunter series feels more welcoming than ever, and in Monster Hunter Wilds, I can clearly feel that shift. I spend less time preparing and more time actually hunting, with smoother transitions between fights and fewer interruptions overall. Combat feels more flexible and easier to control, which makes every hunt flow better, especially when I'm moving across the world or playing with others. Even though the lower difficulty means I don't have to think deeply about my gear as often, the core loop of tracking, fighting, and carving monsters still keeps me engaged, earning its excellent spot. Hogwarts Legacy lets me live out the Hogwarts fantasy I've had since I was a kid, and that feeling carries the whole experience for me. Walking through the castle, attending classes, exploring hidden passages, and flying on a broom all feel special, even when I'm doing simple side tasks. Combat surprises me the most because chaining spells, dodging attacks, and breaking enemy shields stays fun for a long time. The main story doesn't always hold my attention, and the enemy variety wears thin after many hours, but the world, characters, and sense of being a student keep me coming back. Overall, it lands comfortably in the good tier for the magic it delivers, even with its clear flaws. Fable stands out for me because of its charm, humor, and the way Albion reacts to who I choose to be. I like how my hero grows from a nobody into a legend, with my actions shaping how people treat me and even how my character looks. The world feels alive in a playful way, from silly side activities to moral choices that are simple but memorable. Combat and systems clearly show their age, but the personality, music, and storytelling carry the experience. For its heart, humor, and sense of identity, this series earns a great spot on my tier list. Dark Souls changed how I think about difficulty in games. At first, I was intimidated by its harsh world and unforgiving combat, but once I committed to learning enemy patterns, builds, and timing, everything clicked. Every death taught me something, and every boss victory felt earned through patience and understanding, not luck. The dark atmosphere, quiet storytelling, and deep combat systems kept pushing me to improve and adapt. By the end, I felt a real sense of growth as a player, which is why this series belongs in the masterpiece tier on my list. Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning stands out to me because the combat always feels fast, smooth, and fun in a way many RPGs don't manage. I like how I can switch builds whenever I want, mixing melee, magic, and rogue skills without being locked into early choices. The world is colorful and large, with plenty of quests and lore to explore, even if the story and characters don't always leave a strong impact. Some visuals and systems feel uneven, but the moment-to-moment fighting keeps me engaged for hours. Because of that balance of strong gameplay and weaker presentation, it fits well in the good tier on my list. GreedFall puts me into a world with strong ideas, deep politics, and tough choices, and I really like how the story doesn't treat anything as simple good or bad. I spend a lot of time talking, negotiating, and thinking about my decisions, and the quest writing keeps me interested. Combat feels better than I expected, mixing swords, guns, and magic in a way that stays active. But the cracks show often, with stiff animations, rough performance, and choices that don't always change the world in a clear way. I respect what it tries to do more than how it actually plays out, which is why I place GreedFall in the mediocre tier for this list. Final Fantasy XVI took a few tries, but once it clicked, I was fully invested. I follow Clive through a dark, serious story about war, power, and freedom, and the writing keeps getting stronger the longer I play. The world feels heavy and cruel, but the moments of hope and human connection really stand out. Combat is fast and flashy, focused entirely on Clive, and while it moves away from classic party systems, the big icon battles feel massive and unforgettable. Side quests can slow things down, but they add important story weight. Because of its strong narrative and bold direction, this one earns a great tier spot on my fantasy action RPG list. Bloodborne immediately drops me into a brutal hunt where every step feels dangerous and earned. I fight fast and aggressive, learning to trust my instincts as the game pushes me to attack instead of hide. The world is dark, disturbing, and full of secrets that I slowly piece together through exploration and item details. Every boss defeat feels hard-won, and the tension never fully goes away. Despite some technical limits, the atmosphere and design leave a lasting mark on me, placing Bloodborne in the masterpiece tier of my fantasy action RPG list.